President Wilford Woodruff. It would be no news to the people to hear that this was the work of God, and that Zion was being built up in these mountains. But the beauty of these things was that they were true. The speaker had been associated with this church for 50 years, and was familiar with its history. He had never seen a time when it was in so prosperous a condition as now. The strength and union of its organizations was unprecedented in its history. The Spirit of God was manifest in the acts of His servant in authority. God was with them, and they were united as the heart of one man. The presidency were able to preach the whole law of God, and they practiced what they preached. They were an example to others. No man in this kingdom had a right to preach that which he did not practice. He himself did not feel at liberty to preach the word of wisdom unless he observed it. In this respect, the apostles felt desirous of emulating the example of the first presidency, but it should not stop here. All other quorums should do likewise, for the time was at hand when it would be necessary to keep the whole law of God, for there would be a dividing line separating those who did from those who did not. The priesthood with all its powers and keys and authorities was upon the earth, and the kingdom must go forward. It cannot go backward. The young men of Israel would rise up and bear off the kingdom. He rejoiced in seeing the sons of Brigham Young, Heber C. Kimball, Jedediah M. Grant, and others rising up and following in the footsteps of their fathers. The Lord never had a work upon the earth without having worthy men foreordained to perform it, and this generation required some of the noblest of spirits to operate as instruments in the hands of God. There was a mighty work to be performed for the living and the dead, God the Eternal Father standing at the head of it. The kingdom was going to roll on. Its history was already written in the prophecies concerning it. All were destined to be filled. No power ever did or ever could hinder the Almighty, and no power would now or hereafter. The law of patriarchal marriage was the pretext made by the world for persecuting the saints, but it was only a pretense, for those who cry aloud against the alleged iniquity of this people were steeped in corruption themselves. And if that law which they falsely brand as immoral were done away with, persecution would not cease. The church was more fiercely assailed before plural marriage was revealed than it ever has been since. The saints had no feelings of bitterness or disloyalty against the national government. They were patriotic and loyal, but they deprecated persecution in all its forms and claimed and advocated the right of religious liberty. The warfare between this people and the world was a warfare between God and Satan, and the Lord would bring His people off victorious. Men had been known to lay down their lives in their country's honor, and the saints should be willing to lay down their lives, if need be, for the sake of God and His kingdom.